Good afternoon. We'd like to welcome you to our daily COVID-19 update for the town of Plymouth. This is update number 28, coming to you live from PAC TV studios on April 21st, 2020. I'm Steve Triffletti, your Plymouth Town Moderator, and we're here each day, Monday through Friday at noon for this update. This forum is being brought to you live by PAC TV on Comcast channels 13 and 15 and Verizon channels 43 and 47. You can also watch this on PAC TV's streaming channel by going to pactv.org/live. For questions during today's forum, please email your questions to plymouthinfo@pactv.org. These forums can be replayed at pactv.org/Plymouth. Today's participants include Selectman Chair Kenneth Tavares and Plymouth Representative Matt Muratore, and we're joined by Robert Creedon. He's the clerk of Plymouth County Superior Court. Also, Jack Cocio, he is the Executive Director for the South Shore Community Action Council. Michelle Bratti, she is the Director of Elder Affairs for the town of Plymouth. And Stephen Cole, the Executive Director for the Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. Each day we begin with an opening message from the Chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen, Kenneth Tavares. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be back after a brief absence of 3 days. I just want to pass on some words that we've used before, and that's in regards to getting together and groups forming. We had a very busy day on the Plymouth waterfront, but I must say that if this was in different times, we would have been excited and encouraged by it, but it was a little bit frightening. There were way too many people gathering together without masks and without keeping a 6-foot distance from one another. We need to be absolutely vigilant. As we have said so many times before, we are battling a silent enemy. And this enemy doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter what your age. You can be 5 years old, or you can be 101. And I think we need to be reminded on a daily basis that we cannot let our guard down. We have to keep gaining the ground that we've taken so far by taking precautions. And that includes using a mask if you're out and about, staying home, do not make unnecessary trips, wash your hands, and of course, as always, keep your distance. I think that one of the things that we need to be mindful of, and it should hit at the heart of every one of us, and that is do not subject our children to exposure. There were so many children on the waterfront. They don't need to be standing in lines, and they are the innocent ones. So please be very careful when you're taking your children out and make sure that they're properly covered also. Each of us has an obligation to use common sense. We can tell right from wrong. We know when we're in a situation such as what happened on the waterfront. If it's too crowded, just pick yourself up and please just go away. We want you to stay away from situations that the virus, thrives on, and that is certainly subjecting our children and the elders to things that they shouldn't have to be. And I'm sorry, I'm just looking at some of these notes here. But I think I want to close today by saying that none of us have the right to place others in harm's way. And we do that every time we take a liberty or we think that things are getting better. The all clear hasn't been sounded yet. We absolutely need to be cognizant of what we could be doing to other people around us. Thank you, Steve.
He is chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen. Each day these forums come to you live. They're date stamped in the corner, so you'll know that this is the live broadcast coming to you on April 21st. We try to provide verified information from trusted sources, from elected officials, and from experts in the field as we respond to COVID-19. This is also an interactive forum, and so you can send your questions to plymouthinfo@pactv.org, and we'll strive to answer your questions live on the broadcast or get back to you the following day. Our next guest is the clerk for the Plymouth County Superior Court. We're delighted to have Robert Creedon. Welcome, Bob, and tell us a little bit about what's happening at Plymouth Superior Court in response to the coronavirus.
Thank you, Steve, for inviting me. And Ken, that was terrific advice for not only the listenership of this station, but to the entire country. Let's not be selfish. Let's think of others and follow the advice of doctors who are telling us how to live in this time of crisis. Now, for the Superior Court, what we've done is this, Steve, and you're probably very familiar with this because you've been a participant in the legal community since, I think, what did you tell me? You got out of law school in 76?
That's right, Bob.
Right.
It's been a while.
In those days, the Superior Court was run by the counties, not by the Administrative Office of the Trial Court. Presently, we are run by the Administrative Office of the Trial Court. And under their guidance, we've reduced our staff to one judge in Plymouth Superior, one judge in Brockton Superior, one clerk for each judge, and two office folks to assist in teleconferencing. We're presently guided by a decision written by our own Justice Frank Gaziano from Scituate, Supreme Court Justice. And in response to a petition brought by the Criminal Defense Bar, he issued an opinion, and basically it tells us what rights pretrial detainees have in Superior Court. And he creates a presumption, a rebuttable presumption, that they can be released on personal recognizance if they meet certain criteria. Now, excluded from that presumption are about, he cites statistics in his opinion, and he cites Amendment B, Part B of his opinion, excluding certain people. So his concern obviously is with the health of those detainees, but overriding his concern for the public safety of our citizenry. So I think the decision is well written. It's been in operation now for about a week, and we most of these petitions are heard over technology similar to what we're doing here today. It's worked as you, Steve, you know, and many folks know. We have 4 district courts in Plymouth County: Plymouth, Wareham, Hingham, and Brockton. And the Superior Court sits in Plymouth with 2 sessions and Brockton with 5. But we're not open for business other than emergency petitions. Be happy to answer any questions which members of the panel would have or the public would have.
Thank you. And that's Robert Creedon, clerk, Plymouth County Superior Court. He'll be with us for our question and answer. We're going to deviate a little bit and go right to Matt Muratore for some breaking news regarding schools. Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So I'm just getting word through the governor's office that he'll be on any minute, but we'll be announcing that remote learning will be in effect for the remainder of the academic school year. So that's going to be coming out very shortly.
Thank you. That's Matt Muratore, Plymouth State Representative, announcing in advance the governor's closing of schools for the remainder of the year. And we will endeavor to have Dr. Maestas or a school official on our update tomorrow to give further information regarding Plymouth's response to the school closure for the rest of the year. We're now going to go to Jack Cocio. He is the Executive Director for the South Shore Community Action Council. Welcome, Jack.
Nice to see you, and good to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Let me just start off by mentioning to you that South Shore Community Action has been around since 1965. We're a community action agency, and our mission is to eliminate poverty on the South Shore. It's quite a tall order. We have a number of programs to assist individuals and families that are in need on the South Shore and even on the Cape as well. As you might guess, one of the major issues that families are facing is food shortages. We happen to have a food program that's been pretty significant in the area, and that over the last year, we did about 500,000 pounds of food to a number of different pantries in the area from, again, the entire South Shore. We even now go on to the Cape as well. Significant assistance in the area of Plymouth. We also have a child care facility in Plymouth where we have over 250 kids. Those kids are staying home now. And as you could imagine, those children were getting breakfast, a snack, and lunch while they were in school. Now that demand goes to the home. So one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to reach out to the families that we have through the child care program. We've also partnered with the Plymouth school system and actually the Middleborough school system as well to try to help families that also are without enough food to get by, that had kids in the school system. And now, Matt, as you mentioned, that it's going to be not until next year, all these families, the kids once again had their lunches at school. Now they have to have their food at home. And so that's an additional problem for the families as well. So that's our biggest area of demand, and it's been growing. Just to give you an idea, the designated school locations in Plymouth is approximately 400 bags a week that we're putting together from our food program that are non-seniors. In addition to that, we're doing 62 seniors. We're doing about 115 bags in Middleborough. So we're also providing food for our Head Start and our early education and care, child care families. So if people, because it's such a stress on food, a lot of people are getting in touch with us and saying, okay, where can I get food to you? Or how can I get food to you? How can I help? So you could do food donations. There are bins in the Stop and Shop, and there are other locations on our website. If you want to go to our website, it's sscac.org, sscac.org, and that will give you some other locations as well. There's also information if you wanted to send a donation. If you go to our website, you can do a donation that would be, just go look for SSCAC's COVID-19 Emergency Assistance Fund, and we'll make sure that that gets used for, generally for food, because that's the biggest call right now. We also have a fuel assistance program. It's called Low Income Heat Assistance for those in need. Our building is basically closed to outsiders or non-employees to come in, but we do have a skeleton crew on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the rest of us we're working remotely every day of the week as well. So you can still do a food application Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. The times to do the food application the fuel application is between 9:15 to 3 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can call 508-746-6707, or you could call 877-FUEL-AID. The receptionist will take your phone contact information, and the intake worker will return the call to you as well. Once you're eligible for the fuel assistance, that's actually a good entry for you to be able to get enrollment for utility discounts from Eversource, National Grid Electric, Gas, Columbia Gas as well. And benefits range from $400 up to $1,360. So that's a good assistance for families. We help about 8,500 to 9,000 households per year in 39 towns across the South Shore. We also take care of, we go from Hull to Wareham, and we take the Cape and the islands as well. Let's see what else we have here. Our VITA program, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. You've probably heard that the taxes have been extended. The required date now is July 15th. So in order to align that with our state and federal tax filing deadline extensions, we've postponed the appointments currently, but we'll resume those as soon as we get back on track with that. That should be very shortly. Our South Shore Family Network, a lot of times you're looking for the family for kids to be able to get involved during the day. What can I do with my kids? There's a program called Raising a Reader with Big Ryan. He streams live on Facebook. His Facebook page is Big Ryan's Tall Tales, and he's on Thursday afternoons at 4 p.m. So you can do that. And then there are story times as well with Miss Debbie. That's on SSCAC's YouTube channel. So if you wanted to help to make some help to our communities, you can make a donation today to our SSCAC COVID-19 Emergency Assistance Fund at www.sscac.org, so that we can help individuals and families as much as possible. We thank you for your patience as all these changes are very difficult to handle. I know it's a stressful time for everybody and for families, and we're more than happy to help. You have any questions or you need assistance, whether it be with fuel assistance, food, something else, your mortgage, please feel free to give us a call. You can see our number on the site here, and we'll be happy to help you out. And I'll be happy to take questions that you may have as well.
Thank you. That is Jack Cocio. He is the Executive Officer for South Shore Community Action Council. And we just arranged for Dr. Gary Maestas, Superintendent of Plymouth Public Schools, to join us tomorrow to give us an update regarding the closing of schools for the rest of the school academic year, which is just being announced by Governor Baker. At this time, we're going to go to Michelle Bratti. We welcome her back each and every Tuesday. She is the Director of Elder Affairs. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the invitation, and it's always a pleasure to see the panel. So just want to start by saying thank you. Hi, Jack. Thank you so much. I want to extend a thank you to you personally and your organization. You mentioned the seniors that the perishable boxes, non-perishable boxes of food are going to, and we really appreciate the connectiveness and the outreach that you're doing on behalf of the seniors. They appreciate it greatly, and you're a great organization, and thank you for that. We look for a continued partnership in that. Two things today, real quick. I want to talk about, we've mentioned scams before, but I really want to impart some detailed information in regards to current scams. Anybody can fall privy to scams, but we do know that seniors particularly seem to be targeted. And just wanted to read some language, current language, that might be helpful in terms of any stimulus checks or anything that you're receiving in regards to COVID-19. You don't need to do anything to claim your stimulus payment. I think people should know that. There's nothing you need to do. The IRS is not going to call or text you about your payment. If you get a voicemail, if you get a call, if you get a text, please ignore it, or you can always call the center if you have a concern, 508-830-4230, and we will be happy to assist you if any red flags come up for you that you think maybe this is not right. One thing that I thought was pretty interesting, you're not going to get, quote, a stimulus check or a coronavirus payment. Scammers are using that language, calling it, hi, I'm calling or I'm texting or I'm emailing saying these payments, your stimulus check, your coronavirus check. Those are not words that the IRS is going to use. The language calls it, the official term, economic impact payment. So if you're hearing those other terms, your red flag should be up, and do not engage with those people. And also, what's coming to light, the IRS is not likely to overpay you. So some people are getting some feedback or some information or some solicitation that says you actually are earning, you're able to get more, you qualify for more. There's been an error, we're going to give you additional. Anything that you hear in that language is incorrect. Please do not fall for that. Call your local police if you feel you've been scammed, and call me, and I will absolutely walk you through it. Secondly, the other thing is in regards to mass health recipients. Many of our seniors, that is, they're between that and Medicaid, they may be on mass health standard. There is a service that Mass Health offers, and you have to qualify. So we're not sure if you will or not, but it's a Navicare system that adds additional services to Mass Health. These services are always great. We're familiar with them. We know that this program is awesome. But particularly during this health epidemic, I want to highlight some of the features of this Mass Health service. Transportation for seniors to grocery stores during the early hour morning or peak times for seniors. Transportation to banks. Access to local grocery and pharmacies. Telehealth, where you can talk to your doctor through a telephone, through a computer, through your phone, and get advice and do doctor's appointments that way. Pharmaceutical deliveries, your prescriptions, and over-the-counter pharmacy goods. You not only get a credit for some of those, you will get delivery of your prescriptions. Not everyone will qualify for this program, but it is worth looking at and seeing if you do qualify, because these extra benefits are critical during this time. If you want to see if you qualify or have questions about this program, we've listed in detail some of the information on our Facebook page, which is the Plymouth COA Center for Active Living. But you can call our social outreach workers, either Todd or April, at 508-830-4230, and they will walk you through the program and give you the proper information and people you can connect with to see if you qualify. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, and that is Michelle Bratti. She's the Director of Elder Affairs. She brings us good information every week on Tuesdays, along with Stephen Cole. He's the Executive Director for the Plymouth Economic Development Foundation, I think the Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. A lot of words there, Steve. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Steve. I guess that's why people just call me Steve instead of all of those things, huh? Well, as we are joined again with another episode of How Is My Beard Growing, I wanted to update some folks with some information out of the SBA. When I joined last Thursday, we had some numbers about the PPP program, and I did provide how Massachusetts was doing at that time based on the stats that were available. I do have revised stats out of the SBA that was released as of Friday. So I'd like to present those today. We had about 47,000 small businesses in Massachusetts receive loan approvals. That is 47,000 out of 1.66 million nationwide. I'm glad to say that the number that we last reported on was about 7 billion, and the final number is much closer to 10.5 billion. That puts Massachusetts in the total volume of applications approved, as well as the total amount of money approved, at 9th in the nation. I can tell you, too, we delved a little bit further into what exactly industries benefited from that funding. And it looks like construction companies were the largest single recipients by industry, and that was about 13% of funding. Manufacturing received about 12%. And of course, something that's near and dear to all of us here in Plymouth are things like accommodations and food services. That was at about 9% of total funding. Looking at the unemployment numbers for the Commonwealth, in the last 4 weeks, we had a total of about 572,000 people file for unemployment. That's about 16% of the state's total workforce. We have some positive news coming out of Washington this morning. I understand that there will be another round of PPP or some infusion of cash. The number they're floating right now is about 310 billion, but about 125 billion of that is going aside for what they call unbanked areas, rural areas, MIMBYs and WIMBYs, what so-called minority and women-owned business enterprises. So pretty much anybody who was left out of the last tranche should be able to benefit in some way with this upcoming tranche. I look forward to updating folks as new data becomes available, and I am available also for questions. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Stephen Cole. He's with us each and every Tuesday and Thursday, and we're now going back to Plymouth State Representative Mathew Muratore for his daily update. Matt, what else can you tell us?
Thanks, Steve. Also, the governor has just announced that child daycare centers will be closed through June 29th as well, unless they're for emergencies. So that's probably important for you, Jack, to know that too. Also want to thank Jack and Social Community Action Council for what they've been doing in this community over the last, the decades that they've been involved, that they've been in the community, but also just recently what they've been doing. They've done tremendous work. So we thank Jack and his staff for what they're doing. So let's look at some updated numbers. We're going to look at them a little bit different than we have in the past too. We are in the surge, as we know. The numbers of those seem to be peaking somewhat and starting to come down. So let's just look at the overall numbers. As of yesterday, April 20th, the number, and this is around 10 a.m. yesterday, we have 169,398 cases of, people that have been tested out of the 7 million, which is 2.4% of the Commonwealth that has been tested. Again, 169,398. Of those tested, 39,643 have confirmed cases, or 23.4%. And 10% of all those confirmed cases are hospitalized at this point. Of those cases, there's been 1,809 deaths, which is about 4.6% of all cases have resulted, unfortunately, in deaths. So the increased number of tests have been 28,625 since April 16th. And that's still averaging about 7,500 tests per day. In Plymouth County, we are at 2,976 cases that have been tested positive, and that is up 510 cases from April 16th, and that's less than a little bit more than 0.5% of Plymouth County population. And in Plymouth, we have 121 total confirmed cases. That is a little less than 0.2% of the population in the town of Plymouth. There are 38 that are in isolation. And unfortunately, we've had 3 deaths in Plymouth, and all have come from long-term care facilities. And Plymouth is up 10 cases from April 16th. So as I said, the cases confirmed have dropped. On April 16th, when we spoke, there was 2,762 new cases. On April 17th, it dropped a little bit to 2,263. Over the weekend, on Saturday, it dropped to 1,970. On Sunday, it dropped to 1,705. And yesterday, it dropped to 1,566. And again, the total amount of testing during that same time period has still been around 7,500 tests per day. So we can starting to see a little bit of a drop in the last 4 days. Usually, at the beginning of every week, we talk about the confirmed cases by age group. So I want to do that, but I also want to talk with regard to the numbers that have been hospitalized and the number of deaths in those age categories. And it's quite startling when you get to over 60 and particularly over 70 and 80. So the cases, the confirmed cases by age category through yesterday, April 20th, the age group of less than or equal to 19 years old, there have been 933 confirmed cases, with 15 of those hospitalized, no deaths. Ages between 20 and 29, there have been 4,585 confirmed cases. 90 of those folks have been hospitalized with 1 death. Between the ages of 30 and 39, there's been 5,636 confirmed cases. 180 have been hospitalized, 7 deaths. Between the ages of 40 and 49, there's been 5,683 confirmed cases, with 281 hospitalizations and 13 deaths. Between the ages of 50 and 59, there's been 6,873 confirmed cases, with 536 hospitalizations and 63 deaths. Between the ages of 60 and 69, there's been 5,504 deaths. 5,504 confirmed cases, with a total of 719 hospitalizations and 182 deaths. And here's where the numbers really jump up. Between the ages of 70 and 79, there's been 3,965 confirmed cases. 836 of those folks have been hospitalized, and the total deaths are almost 400 at 399. And then when we go over 80 years old, there's been 6,083 folks that have been tested, that have tested positive. 1,135 have actually been hospitalized, and of those, 1,144 have resulted in deaths. So if you look at the ages of 60 and up, 1,725 have died in that age category out of the amount of 1,809 deaths. And as we said early on when we first started a month ago, that this was going to affect the senior population, and boy, has it. Of those, those deaths, again, 97.5% of those deaths also had underlying conditions as well in all age categories. With regards to hospital capacity in the Southeast area, in our area, there is still availability of beds, non-ICU beds. It's 34% availability of beds. So we do have hospital capacity for non-ICU beds and also ICU beds. As of yesterday, there's still a capacity of 14% in this area. BID Plymouth has confirmed 44 cases of the COVID-19. That includes the suspect and confirmed cases. With regard to our long-term care facilities, the National Guard have visited 305 facilities out of the 680 facilities there are in the Commonwealth and have tested 8,205 people. In addition, the tests sent to facilities that can now test on their own, there's been over 14,056 tests that have sent, with another 14,842 going out today. And that's a total of 146 out of the 680 something facilities that are now able to test on their own. So we're going to see the test numbers go up much higher, which is a good thing. Now, with regard to unemployment, this came out yesterday, I believe at noontime yesterday, that those folks that have been not able to collect unemployment because they were self-employed, including the gig workers, the freelancers, and independent contractors, those seeking part-time employment, claimants that have insufficient work history to qualify for benefits, and claimants that have been laid off from churches and religious institutions are now eligible for the unemployment benefits. So people need to go to the unemployment website and apply. Unemployment. With regard to some upcoming state updates, I just want to mention that over the weekend, the governor signed a liability bill that shields healthcare workers and facilities from a threat of a lawsuit by treating during this epidemic, and it's retroactive to March 10th. In addition, the governor signed the eviction and moratorium bill. This is pausing evictions and foreclosures provided for renters and homeowners and small businesses. Coming up this week, we are looking at, and Steve, this is a favorite subject of yours, is the notary, the remote notary. So that bill is being passed by the Senate today, so it should head over to the House. So we may see some movement on the virtual notary bill as well. A couple last minute things. There was supposed to be a blood drive today at the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department off of exit 5 off of Aubrey Street. That has been postponed today. It was supposed to be scheduled from 2 to 7 for the Red Cross Bloodmobile Drive, but that is postponed. That was going to be sponsored by DA Tim Cruz and Sheriff McDonald, who we had on Friday, but that's been postponed due to lack of workers from the Red Cross, but they are looking to reschedule that soon. But there is an upcoming Red Cross blood drive coming to the Hilltop Athletic Association in Kingston. That's on May 8th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And you can call 781-585-2879. And we can thank the Kingston Police Department and particularly Mike Lenatra for helping set this up. So if you call 781-585-2879, you can make your appointment for May 8th for a blood drive. And finally, people always keep asking how they can help during this. One of the biggest things you can do is just stay home, Again, we are in the surge. We are starting to come down a little bit, but it's still going to take a little bit of time. But you can donate to the Mass COVID-19 Relief Fund. You can volunteer if you're a health professional in various different ways. The Commonwealth is still looking for tracers to volunteer for tracing. We're going to start tracing these cases now, which is important, as well as testing. If you can donate or sell personal protective equipment, if you have any at all, you can do that. You can apply for a job, a temporary job at these care sites that are off sites from hospitals, and of course, you can always give blood as well. So that is the update for today, Steve.
Thank you, and that is Mathew Muratore. He is a Plymouth State Representative. You can send your questions to PlymouthInfo@pactv.org, and we'll be circling back to all of today's participants for their closing thoughts. At this time, we just want to update you also to tomorrow's lineup. As we said earlier, Dr. Gary Maestas, Superintendent of Plymouth Public Schools, will be joining us regarding today's announcement that schools will be closed for the remainder of the school year throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In addition, we're welcoming for the first time Sarah Cloud. She's the Director of Behavioral Health and Social Work at Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital here at the Plymouth campus. Each Wednesday, we're joined by Heather Cosby, who is a CPA who will answer your questions regarding taxes and some of the programs that have been rolled out, along with Michael Jackman, who is a staff member at Congressman Keating's office. In addition to that, Amy Naples will be giving our business segment. She's the executive director for the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. And as always, we're joined by Kenneth Tavares, chair of the Board of Selectmen, and Mathew Muratore, Plymouth State Representative. Again, your questions can be sent to PlymouthInfo@pactv.org. This is coming to you live today on April 21st, 2020. We do have a question, and it is, could you tell me if we have a court date for April 29th at Plymouth District Court? Is the court open? I don't want to assume that I should go there and then get a warrant issued. Will a mailing go out with a rescheduled date? And although this is Plymouth District Court, I think we can direct this to Bob Creedon, the clerk of the Plymouth County Superior Court, who can tell us what's happening at the courts prior to May 4th. Bob Creedon.
Presently, we're in that shutdown mode until May 4. However, all the courts are open for telephone calls. And I would direct anybody who's, as regards a specific case, to call either one of the 4 district courts or the R2 locations of Superior Court in Plymouth or Brockton. But we won't, I suspect we'll get direction maybe early in May 1, May 2, as to what's going to happen after May 4.
Thank you. And that's Bob Creedon. He is the clerk, Plymouth County Superior Court. Good information for our viewer who's questioning about her upcoming court date. Further questions, PlymouthInfo@pactv.org. And as we're collecting any other questions that come in, we're going to circle around back to the people who are participating today. We're going to go to Jack Cocio. Jack is the Chief Executive Officer for South Shore Community Action Council. Jack, what would you like our viewers to remember today from your opening statement?
Well, first of all, I feel very blessed to be able to be in a position where I'm working with an organization that can help those that are less fortunate and having stress in their lives. And so it is a blessing to me and to our organization to be able to do that. So if you're doing okay, and see if you can help someone that's not doing quite as well. The other thing that I didn't mention that I'd like to share for a minute, if I could, is a lot of people will say, well, what do you need most for food? And I do have a list that I can give you a few items. These are some non-perishables that are the most needed. We need canned fruits, canned vegetables, peanut butter and jelly, spaghetti and sauce, coffee and tea, cereal, breakfast foods, canned tuna fish, canned ham, canned chicken, and then diapers and baby wipes as well. So those are very high on the priority list for foods. And and assistance that we could have. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack Cocio, Chief Executive Officer, South Shore Community Action Council. We're going to go back to Plymouth Representative Mathew Muratore. Matt, you mentioned earlier about a COVID-19 dashboard. We actually have it. We're going to put it up on the screen for our viewers to be able to see. But could you comment about this Massachusetts Department of Public Health COVID-19 dashboard? It's about 21 pages. Why is this important for our viewers?
I think it's important for the viewers to review, and this is how I'll update the numbers every day as well. As we continue to do more testing and start the tracing process, it's important to find out where we are having the issues, where we are seeing the highest amount of cases, because in order to make decisions of when to open up and how to open up, we really need to have these numbers broken down the way they are. So it's actually good to have these numbers this way, and I would encourage everyone to go on daily to get those numbers.
Thank you. That is Plymouth Representative Mathew Muratore. And leading to the numbers later this week, we're bringing back Dr. Mark Wilson. He is the epidemiologist from the University of Michigan School of Public Health, and he is a Plymouth resident. He'll be joining us on Thursday to talk about contact tracing, testing, apex, plateau, and how to deal with these numbers. We're now going to go back to another question, which is for Stephen Cole. Steve, for Social Security recipients, direct deposit, who do not file taxes, will their checks arrive before month's end? I'm not sure if you can answer this, but we'll ask you the question.
I always rely, when I see the grid pattern, I always rely on what Matt Muratore is doing. Is he nodding yes or is he nodding no? Incidentally, right now, for those folks at home, he's nodding yes. So it is information that I did not have available to me. And once again, I thank Matt for having that information for us.
Thank you. And that's Stephen Cole. He's the Executive Director of Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. And also, we're going to show on the screen the IRS website. And that IRS website shows that you can check on the status of your economic impact payment by going to the IRS website. It's being shown on your screen now. So if you didn't file a return, it tells you what would happen in this case. So helpful information. We're now going to go back to Michelle Bratti, Director of Elder Services. Michelle, what is your takeaway today that you want viewers to remember?
Well, Steve, I think it circles back to everything that everyone is saying. And it is really, really important. I'm sorry. It is really important that people take precautions. As everyone said, I'm grateful. I'm really pleased and hopeful that the numbers might be coming down. But we are in the thick of this. And always a reminder to our seniors in Plymouth, we value you, we honor you, we're here for you. This is, in my world, about you and protecting you and keeping you informed and engaged. So those are always my key areas. I'm going to simplify it from this perspective. New phrase, Plymouth, ready? Wham. Hashtag wham. Wear a mask. It's critical. It's important. It's the one thing we can all take control over. Wham. Wear a mask. If you're not going to do it for yourself, please do it for everyone around you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good words from Michelle. We carry our mask. We wear our mask. We're going to go back to Robert Creedon. He's the elected clerk for the Plymouth Superior Court. Bob, you've heard all the other participants. What would be your closing thoughts that you would like our viewers to remember today from you?
Well, first of all, Steve, I want to thank you for inviting me. And your panel is very well informed. Matt Muratore follows my dear friends Vinnie DiMacedo and a lady I served with in the Senate, Terry Murray, in being informed and caring. By way of the citizenry that are listening to this show, if you have questions, you can call any of the 4 district courts or either of our Superior Court offices in Plymouth and in Brockton. And we're open 8:30 to 4:30 for phone calls, but don't come to the courthouse. We're closed until May 4th. And I suspect after what Matt indicated from the governor with schools, I suspect the courts, but without knowing, I suspect the courts may be continuing to be closed until we see a diminution in these cases.
Thank you. And that's Robert Creedon. He is the clerk of the Plymouth Superior Court. As we've been on air, we've been lining up people from the schools to come to you. Tomorrow, Dr. Maestas, Superintendent of Schools. On Thursday, Dan Harold, Principal of Federal Furnace Elementary. On Friday, Brian Palladino, Principal of PCIS, and he'll be joined by Pete Parcelin, Principal of Plymouth North High School. We will get to you the rest of this week with plenty of people from the Plymouth Public Schools so that all of our families, our parents, and our students will know what is going to be happening for the remainder of the school year in Plymouth. And at this time, we're going to go back to Steve Cole, who is the Executive Director for the Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. Steve, your closing thoughts.
Thank you, sir. I'll just leave folks with this little bit. It's going to sound like I'm reading for a moment, and it's partly because I am. This is the final synopsis of the thoughts that we're putting on our grant application to the U.S. Economic Development Administration. It puts, I think, in perspective, at least from my vantage point, what is so special about Plymouth and why it is why we are better situated than any other community to receive this type of federal investments. It begins or concludes with Plymouth has a 400-year record of pristine land use with natural open space. The cost of doing business is cheaper than an urban environment, and there are access points to important metropolitan areas such as Boston, Quincy, Fall River, New Bedford, and Providence. I deliberately left Taunton off that list. We'll talk about that another day. But the zoning and permitting process is modernized and ready to accommodate new types of investments. Although historically an agrarian economy, Plymouth historically has seamlessly transcended the industrial age into the nuclear age. There is no other community in the Commonwealth that can boast that their economic development portfolio is largely stemmed from the brain power of nuclear technicians and scientists. So with Plymouth, it's uniquely situated with the brain power, land use, permitting, and incentives necessary to pivot to the digital and the quantum economies. This means that the foundation, as well as the town, we're focused on developing grid-scale energy storage that reduces the cost of energy-intensive operations, using our coastline to be a leader in developing the blue economy, including conservation and aquaculture and aquaponics. We are also looking to invest in infrastructure that supports precision manufacturing and supporting the burgeoning tourism and arts economy. Economic development, frankly, is about quality of life. And Plymouth offers a higher quality experience for residents and investors than most other places, certainly in the Southeast, but I dare say throughout the Commonwealth. So I just want to leave folks with that little tidbit of information. I think we are fiercely competitive nationally, and I think that we're going to be receiving a great deal of worthy and necessary attention from our federal partners. Thank you, Steve, for letting me share this information with the viewers.
Thank you, Stephen Cole, Executive Director of Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. We're now going to circle back to our Plymouth State Representative, Matt Muratore. Each day gives us his closing statement. Matt?
Yeah, just a couple other things first, Steve. The governor also just announced too that anyone who has a Mass Student Higher Ed loan, the payments are going to be deferred and the next payment won't be due until August 1st. There'll be more details coming out about that. And I do want to circle back one more time too with regard to the long-term care facilities. And remember, long-term care facilities are nursing facilities, assisted livings, and rest homes. In Plymouth, we've had 20 long-term care residents that have tested positive for COVID-19 and 26 staff members. And considering the amount of beds that we have in Plymouth, which is, I think, somewhere around 1,000 beds and several hundred employees, those numbers, I think, are pretty good for what the folks in the town of Plymouth and the nursing facilities are doing. So they do deserve a lot of credit for what they are doing with our elder population. So as we say every day, make sure you stay informed. And there's ways to stay informed by going to mass.gov/COVID-19. If you have questions, you can call the state hotline at 211. You can get text alerts by texting COVID-MA to 888-777. And questions on health, bowie.com/mass. I think Mr. Creedon is correct that we are going to be probably extended beyond May 4th because we're going to need at least a couple of weeks of downward trends for this to continue before we can actually start opening up again. And I think when we do open up, it will be in phases. So you ought to, continue to stay home. You're saving lives by staying home. You really are. So continue to do that. Again, big thanks to all our guests that come on today for all your knowledge and what you're doing. Kudos to the healthcare workers, whether you're in long-term care, whether you're in home health, or whether you're in hospitals, doctor's office, whatever. Thank you for what you're doing. Same with the essential workers in grocery stores and childcare centers and banks and pharmacies, et cetera. And just stay calm. There's not much more we can do about it. But remember, you're a hero by staying home and saving lives as well. So, the more we come together by staying apart, the faster we'll get back to the people we love and the things we love to do. Thanks to Steve. And again, great big thanks to PAX TV for doing these shows.
Yes, Matt Muratore. And we have many people here at PAC TV. Julie Thompson, the executive director, is here in the studio with me, and her staff is throughout the facility, people in a separate room in a production booth, helping us make all this work with the graphics and getting everybody on screen as they're supposed to be. Matt is joined each day with our guests. Today we want to thank again Robert Creedon. He's the clerk of the Plymouth Superior Court, and Jack Cocio, who is the Chief Executive Officer for South Shore Community Action Council, Michelle Bratti every Tuesday, the Director of Elder Affairs, and Stephen Cole, the Executive Director for Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation. And we close each day with the Chair of the Board of Selectmen, Kenneth Tavares. Ken, your final thoughts.
Thank you, Steve. My thoughts today center around much of what Michelle was talking about. I love the new expression, wham. I think it says it directly and makes a strong point instantly. I know she has a goal of making sure all of her seniors have one, and we'll be hearing more from her, I hope, as to how that goal is actually working. Thank you to the people that are on the panel today. You brought in different perspectives that are important, and it just is so encouraging listening to the reports and the direction that we're going in. We have a lot of work to do, but as I've said many, many times, we're up to it, and we will accomplish this, and we will beat this virus. Thank you.
Thank you, and that is Kenneth Tavares. He is the chair of the Plymouth Board of Selectmen. And looking to tomorrow, we have Ken and Matt will be joined by Dr. Gary Maestas. He'll be giving us the latest update on Plymouth Public Schools. Also, Sarah Cloud, she is the Director of Behavioral Health and Social Work, Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, the Plymouth campus. Each Wednesday, we welcome back Michael Jackman. He is on staff with Congressman Bill Keating's office, and Heather Cosby. She's the local CPA here in Plymouth. And finally, Amy Naples, the Executive Director, the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. We'd like to thank all of our guests today. We'd like to thank all of you for watching. This is update number 28 to the Plymouth COVID-19 in Plymouth, coming to you live on April 21st, 2020. My name is Steve Triffletti, Plymouth Town Moderator. Thank you and good day.